Chapter 241, Lucan's advice. Elias raised his head slightly, looking up at Orion with an expression caught between admiration and grudging agreement. Fine, Orion. I'll concede your point. But you can't tell me you're not at least a bit annoyed. Orion chuckled softly, nodding in admission. Of course I am. But annoyance won't help us in battle. Preparation and determination will. Amelia, who'd remained silent, suddenly added, her voice quiet yet resolute, exactly. It's just another challenge. We'll just have to clear it. Thalira smiled warmly, her gentle voice reassuring, we'll get through this easily. After all, we're among the strongest students here. If we can't, then none of the others can. Arya smiled, nodding in agreement, exactly. As long as we train diligently, we'll definitely become stronger. Feeling the resolve of his friends, Orion stood up slowly, brushing off stray petals from his uniform. Well, it seems like everyone is determined enough. I should head out for now. There's still much I need to think about. Arya looked up, giving him a soft, encouraging smile. Take care, brother Orion. Let's all meet again soon to discuss our training plans. Elias mockingly waved goodbye, regaining some of his earlier humor. Don't overwork yourself, Orion. We'll need your legendary luck to survive Steinhagen's madness. Orion shook his head with a wry smile, then turned and began walking toward the exit of the garden. He slowly made his way along the peaceful, petal-strewn path leading out of the academy gardens. Lost in thought, Orion gazed upwards, admiring the drifting petals set against the soft backdrop of clouds drifting lazily across the vast azure sky. NYSS's bad luck should be enough to keep all of them down, he inwardly thought, remembering her silently sitting some distance away from the group. Lumi hovered gently beside him, her holographic form radiating soft pulses of calming light. Her voice carried a playful tone, clearly intended to lighten the mood. Master, cheer up. You're going to scare everyone with that serious face. Besides, there's nothing to worry about, 10 months is plenty of time. Orion chuckled softly, shaking his head as he glanced sideways at Lumi's system panel. I know, Lumi. I'm not particularly worried about myself. But I have a responsibility now, not just to myself, but to Arya, Elias, and the others. They joined the club trusting in me. How can I let them down? Lumi tilted her head curiously, her eyes sparkling mischievously. Aren't you getting a little too protective, Master? Arya and the others are quite talented as well, you know? Orion exhaled softly, his lips curving into a slight smile. I know, but having talent doesn't guarantee safety. War isn't like any training or duel we've experienced before. There will be unforeseen dangers. That's why preparation and vigilance are key. Lumi hummed thoughtfully, floating around Orion playfully. Well, if that's the case, Master just needs to become strong enough to defeat anything. If you're unbeatable, you can protect everyone else easily, right? Easy. Greater than over equal to less than over equal to, / Orion laughed lightly, his expression softening. You sure have an optimistic view on things. Of course, Master. After all, optimism makes everything feel better. Orion's smile widened slightly as he finally approached the academy gates. Outside, the familiar sight of the obsidian carriage awaited him, with Edgar and Lucan standing patiently in front. Edgar's calm and composed demeanor was unwavering, while Lucan stood casually, juggling a pebble between his fingers as usual. Both turned their heads toward Orion as he drew near. Edgar greeted Orion with a gentle nod, his deep voice calm. Young Master, how was the test? You seem unusually tired. Orion sighed quietly, fatigue briefly shadowing his features as he waved them toward the carriage. Let's head back first. I'll explain everything on the way. It's a lot to take in. Edgar exchanged a subtle, curious glance with Lucan before obediently stepping forward, opening the carriage's elegant door for Orion. Lucan swiftly jumped onto the driver's seat, comfortably taking the reins, and glanced back with an expectant expression. Once Orion settled comfortably inside the carriage, Edgar quietly took his seat across from him, gently closing the door behind them. The carriage rolled forward smoothly, the soft rhythm of hoofbeats echoing faintly against the paved road. For a moment, silence lingered comfortably within the carriage, Orion's expression thoughtful, his gaze distant. Eventually, Edgar cleared his throat quietly, breaking the silence with a calm voice. "Young master, forgive my insistence, but could you elaborate now?" Orion met Edgar's gaze and nodded slowly, his voice carrying a subtle weight. "In 10 months, the Academy is sending us to the southern border war zone. That's the next test." Edgar's eyes widened, a rare glimpse of shock flickering briefly across his composed features. Even Lucan, who had clearly overheard through the open carriage window, nearly stumbled in his seat, hastily regaining his balance. "The southern war zone?" Edgar repeated in quiet disbelief, his voice heavy with genuine concern. "The Thunder Peak Royal Academy has never sent first-year students directly into active conflict. This decision is quite unprecedented." Lucan's voice came through the carriage window, equally incredulous. "Are they truly so confident in this batch, young master? Or have things escalated to that extent at the southern border?" Orion exhaled quietly, leaning back in his seat. "Perhaps a bit of both." The vice-deans seemed troubled, though they tried not to show it. "Regardless, we'll need to prepare diligently." Edgar slowly nodded, absorbing Orion's words. "Indeed, preparation will be crucial. We'll ensure that you're ready for whatever might happen." Gradually, the conversation drifted onto lighter topics, the tense atmosphere gradually easing as the carriage smoothly traveled along the winding road toward the Hellstorm mansion. After several minutes, Lucan's playful voice suddenly rang out from the front seat, his tone light-hearted and teasing. "Young master, now that things are about to become even busier for you, you probably won't have much free time left, right?" Orion raised an eyebrow curiously, leaning slightly forward to better hear Lucan. "Yes, you're right. My schedule will indeed become more packed. Training and preparation will eat up most of my attention." Lucan chuckled lightly, continuing with playful amusement. "Then what about Fiora and Rena, young master? They're both still young maidens, after all. Keeping them cooped up in the mansion all day long isn't good. You should take them out on a date sometime, show them some attention." Orion blinked in mild surprise, a faint blush briefly coloring his cheeks before he quickly composed himself. "A date?" Edgar smiled subtly, amused by Orion's contemplative expression. Lucan laughed, clearly enjoying Orion's reaction. "Indeed. Master Eldrick already left for the Empire before. Plus, I just got news earlier that Lady Celine went to the royal palace. King Reynold invited her for something important, apparently. So you'll have the mansion to yourselves for a while." Orion speechlessly looked at Edgar through the window. "You really thought this through, haven't you, brother Lucan?" Lucan's playful laughter carried back to them, his tone teasingly mischievous. "Of course. As your loyal retainers, it's our job to help you manage both cultivation and relationships, young master." Edgar shook his head with a wry yet gentle smile. "Lucan isn't entirely wrong, young master. Fiora and Rena would surely appreciate your attention, especially now that you'll soon become preoccupied with your preparations." Chapter 242, Library. Orion nodded in understanding. "Yes, I wanted to take them out for a while, but couldn't get enough time. Now that I've gotten back from the academy early, I might as well take the two of them out for an outing. But you two seem more enthusiastic about this than even I am." Lucan laughed cheerfully, guiding the carriage smoothly along the path, the mansion finally coming into view in the distance. "That's because we're invested in your happiness, young master. Life can't be all battles and tests, there must be time for romance too." Orion chuckled quietly, shaking his head with amusement. "Fair enough. I'll do my best." Edgar and Lucan's faces formed satisfied smiles, both quietly pleased with Orion's agreement. The carriage rolled smoothly through the gates of the Hellstorm estate, gravel crunching gently beneath its wheels as it gradually slowed, coming to a gentle stop before the gates of the mansion. Edgar was the first to move, stepping outside and quietly holding the door open. Orion descended from the carriage, stretching slightly as he felt the fresh breeze drifting across the vast, well-manicured lawns that surrounded the mansion. The sunlight painted everything in golden warmth, illuminating the meticulously tended flower beds and ornate fountains placed tastefully around the grounds. Turning back toward Edgar and Lucan, Orion gently waved a hand, indicating for them to remain by the carriage. "Stay here for a bit, I'll go get Rena and Fiora myself." Lucan smirked knowingly, tipping an imaginary hat toward Orion, his playful voice clear and teasing, "As you wish, young master. Take your time." Edgar simply smiled with gentle amusement, nodding respectfully. "We'll wait here, young master." Orion shook his head slightly, chuckling quietly as he walked briskly toward the mansion entrance. The large double doors opened smoothly at his approach, and stepping inside, Orion was greeted by the soft, respectful bow of a nearby maid. She straightened, awaiting instructions. "Where are Rena and Fiora right now?" Orion asked, giving her a gentle, reassuring smile. The maid politely bowed her head and replied softly, "Young master, Rena and Fiora are currently studying in the library." Orion raised an eyebrow curiously, a playful smirk appearing briefly on his face. "Studying, are they? That's surprising." He thanked the maid with a slight nod before turning down the long, brightly lit hallway that led toward the mansion's grand library. His footsteps echoed softly on the polished marble floor, the familiar scent of old parchment and polished wood greeting him as he drew nearer. Upon reaching the library entrance, Orion paused at the doorway, leaning casually against the frame as he observed the scene inside. The warm sunlight streaming through tall, arched windows gently illuminated the room, highlighting rows upon rows of elegantly carved shelves filled with countless books. Seated at a large, ornate table near the center of the library were Rena and Fiora, their attention deeply engrossed in the book spread open before them. Rena leaned forward, resting her chin lightly on one hand, her playful eyes scanning the pages with casual interest. Her long, silky blonde hair cascaded down her shoulders, catching the sunlight. Opposite her, Fiora sat more formally, her small face slightly scrunched up in concentration, her delicate fingers tracing carefully along the lines of text as she read intently. Orion chuckled softly to himself, amused at the rare sight of the two of them studying so diligently. As he stepped fully into the room, the sound of his approach caught their attention immediately. Rena glanced up first, her eyes widening in pleasant surprise as a warm, playful smile blossomed on her lips. She quickly stood, setting her book down gracefully. Fiora hastily followed suit, her cheeks slightly flushed with mild embarrassment, shyly averting her gaze while bowing deeply in greeting. "Young master, welcome back." Rena greeted sweetly, eyes twinkling mischievously as she tilted her head. "You're back so early today, did something happen?" Fiora timidly raised her eyes, softly adding, "Is everything alright, young master?" Orion chuckled gently, raising a hand to reassure them, "Nothing to worry about. The academy let us out early, and I decided to skip training for today. How have your studies been going?" Rena stretched leisurely, her voice taking on a lightly teasing tone. Studying is always easier when we know you're coming back early, young master. Makes the time fly by faster, doesn't it, Fiora?" Fiora blushed furiously, nodding shyly but unable to form any coherent reply, causing Rena to giggle lightly. Orion shook his head, smiling warmly at the pair, before deciding to get to the point. "Well, since I'm free today, I was thinking of taking you two out to visit the city for a bit. Interested?" Both girls immediately brightened, their expressions lighting up eagerly as they exchanged quick, excited glances. They nodded simultaneously, their voices enthusiastic. "Yes, young master." They eagerly moved forward to join him, but Orion raised a hand to stop them, his gaze traveling pointedly over their current attire, standard-made uniforms. "Wait a moment," he interjected gently, an amused smile tugging at his lips. "Are you two planning to go out in these clothes?" Both Rena and Fiora tilted their heads simultaneously, confusion clear in their innocent expressions as they glanced down at their neat but unmistakably servant-like outfits. "Young master. Is there something wrong with our clothes?" Fiora asked softly, her voice hesitant and shy. Rena's eyes sparkled mischievously as she teasingly placed a finger against her chin, lightly pouting. "Are our maid dresses not appealing enough for you anymore, young master?" Orion chuckled softly, shaking his head in amusement. That's not what I meant. I meant you should wear something more casual and comfortable for the city. We're going for an outing, after all, not official mansion duties. Rena's playful eyes widened briefly in genuine surprise before she smiled warmly, glancing teasingly at Fiora. Oh, so young master wants to see us dressed up more attractively? Fiora's face instantly turned bright red, her small hands clutching nervously at the hem of her skirt as she stammered quietly, Arena. Don't say things like that. Orion sighed softly, feeling amused at Rena's antics as she seemed more active than usual. Just go change into something suitable. That's an order. Both girls paused, blinking in mild surprise at his commanding tone before exchanging quick, uncertain glances. Fiora quickly lowered her head shyly, while Rena giggled softly, clearly amused by Orion's rare moment of authority. Of course, young master, Rena finally agreed sweetly, her voice softly playful, we'll get changed right away. Fiora quietly nodded in compliance, her cheeks still flushed brightly. Orion smiled warmly, nodding toward the library entrance. Good. I'll be waiting outside the mansion for you too. Don't take too long. Rena teasingly smiled at him as she gracefully grabbed Fiora's hand, leading her swiftly toward their rooms. Fiora stumbled slightly behind her, still adorably flustered and red-faced, causing Orion to shake his head with gentle amusement as he watched them leave. Fiora is quite flustered about the outing, huh? It will be a fun day ahead. He thought to himself while walking toward the exit. Hee, finally I can watch a good show after such a long time. Chapter 243, Entertainment District. Orion calmly walked back out through the grand double doors of the mansion, stepping once again into the warm glow of the afternoon sun. Edgar and Lucan stood patiently by the carriage, quietly conversing, both turning their heads toward him as he approached. Are the girls coming soon, young master? Edgar asked with a gentle smile. Orion nodded, folding his arms comfortably. They went to change. Shouldn't be too long now. Lucan grinned knowingly, leaning comfortably against the carriage, his voice tinged with playful anticipation. Excellent. I'm eager to see how well Rena and Fiora dress up for this outing. Orion simply chuckled softly, shaking his head in amusement at Lucan's open enthusiasm. After several peaceful moments passed beneath the golden sun, the mansion doors opened again, drawing Orion's attention immediately. Both Rena and Fiora stepped out onto the mansion steps, and Orion found himself momentarily stunned, his gaze lingering appreciatively. Rena wore a charming pale blue dress that fit her body nicely, her golden blonde hair cascading softly over her shoulders, catching the sunlight, and she walked calmly, each step exuding confidence and charm. As their eyes met, Rena's lips curled into a knowing, teasing smile, clearly enjoying Orion's admiration. Beside her, Fiora presented a lovely contrast. She had chosen a soft lavender-colored dress, more modest but no less beautiful, gently enhancing her more provocative figure compared to Rena's. Her blonde hair was neatly styled, with a few loose strands framing her gently blushing face. Fiora shyly lowered her head, glancing at Orion briefly before quickly averting her gaze in bashful embarrassment, fingers nervously playing with the hem of her dress. Orion smiled warmly. You two look beautiful, he praised sincerely, his voice gentle and appreciative. Rena's playful smile deepened, eyes twinkling brightly as she teased softly, I'm delighted you approve, young master. Fiora took forever picking out something perfect. Fiora's blush intensified further, her voice barely audible, Rena. Edgar and Lucan quietly exchanged amused glances, staying discreetly to the side, observing the charming scene unfold with approving smiles. Both men found comfort in seeing Orion enjoy moments of simple happiness amid his rigorous training and heavy responsibilities. Orion chuckled softly, gently gesturing toward the carriage. Shall we? Rena and Fiora nodded eagerly, their excitement palpable as Orion helped them into the carriage. Once the two girls settled inside, Orion paused briefly, turning curiously toward Edgar. Aren't you coming inside, Uncle Edgar? Edgar shook his head gently, his expression calm but eyes carrying a subtle warmth. No, young master. I think I'll enjoy some fresh air alongside Lucan today. Lucan swiftly caught on to Edgar's intention and nodded playfully, giving Orion a teasing thumbs up before jumping on the driver's seat. That's right, young master. You three should enjoy your privacy. Orion sighed quietly, amusement flickering across his eyes as he shook his head in understanding. Climbing into the carriage, he settled comfortably, only to realize Rena and Fiora had both chosen seats directly beside him, rather than across as expected. Orion raised an eyebrow curiously but refrained from commenting aloud, merely chuckling softly in acceptance. Rena's smile grew slightly more mischievous, clearly satisfied with her bold choice, while Fiora, her cheeks delicately flushed, shyly avoided Orion's gaze, focusing intently on her hands. Hee, Fiora's more shy than usual, while Rena is getting more playful. Are they showing their colors after changing clothes? They seem pretty excited for sure. Orion inwardly chuckled. Lucan gave the reins a gentle flick, the carriage smoothly beginning its journey away from the mansion. A gentle silence lingered inside briefly, with Orion comfortably leaning back into the plush cushions. Curiosity soon stirred within him, breaking the comfortable quiet as he turned towards the two young women. By the way, what were you two reading so intently back in the library? Rena tilted her head playfully, eyes sparkling with teasing mystery. Ah, young master, that's a secret. You'll find out soon enough. Orion raised an eyebrow, intrigued but deciding to let her keep her playful secrecy. Fine, keep your surprise, he chuckled lightly, turning his gaze out the window as the capital city's outer districts slowly came into view. The carriage passed smoothly through the vibrant streets, drawing closer to the fourth ring of the capital. The lively bustle of citizens grew steadily louder, merchants cheerfully hawking their wares, children laughing as they played games, and colorful banners fluttering gently in the afternoon breeze. Fiora softly glanced out the window as well, a quiet smile of wonder brightening her shy features. It's the first time we've gone out like this. Rena nodded gently, her playful demeanor momentarily softening. Indeed. We spend too much time cooped up at the mansion, don't you think, young master? Orion nodded in quiet agreement, his expression growing thoughtful. You're right. We should make outings like this more regular. I shouldn't stay cooped inside the mansion all the time. Fiora shyly lifted her head slightly, softly adding, I would like that very much, young master. Rena teased gently, leaning closer to Orion as she spoke softly, her voice subtly seductive yet still playful, and maybe next time, young master, you'll tell us in advance so Fiora can spend a bit less time agonizing over her choice of dress. Rena. Fiora stammered again, her blush deepening fiercely. It wasn't that bad. Orion laughed lightly at their gentle banter, the warmth of the moment deeply comforting. The carriage rolled gently through the bustling streets, eventually slowing to a halt as they reached the entertainment district of the capital's fourth ring. Vibrant lights danced upon ornate buildings, banners fluttered softly, and lively chatter echoed through the evening air. The district was lit with energy, filled with a mix of citizens and nobles seeking leisure and excitement. Orion stepped out first, smoothly landing on the cobblestone street. Turning around, he extended his hand gracefully towards the carriage door, offering support as Rena took his hand confidently, her eyes twinkling playfully. As Fiora reached out next, she paused slightly, her delicate hand trembling shyly. Orion smiled gently, reassuring her as he firmly but tenderly helped her step onto the street, causing her blush to deepen further. Edgar gracefully descended from the carriage, taking a quick glance around to ensure their safety. Lucan, however, remained stubbornly seated atop the driver's perch, already forming an excuse on his lips. Before he could voice it, Orion turned and called firmly, "Brother Lucan, don't even think about staying behind. We have more people with us today, and I want you with us for any unexpected situations." Lucan's shoulders slumped dramatically as he heaved an exaggerated sigh. "As you wish, young master," he replied reluctantly, jumping down and joining the group, though a mischievous smile soon replaced his feigned resignation. The small group moved leisurely into the heart of the district, their eyes wandering eagerly over the vibrant surroundings. The streets brimmed with energy, street performers drawing enthusiastic crowds. Orion felt a refreshing change from his usual training and studying sessions, Being surrounded by such vivid life lifted his spirits immensely. This place is even better than the market district, master. He inwardly nodded in agreement. Well, this is the entertainment district after all. Nearby, a small crowd had gathered around a makeshift stage, captivated by several low-tier mages performing enchanting tricks and elemental displays. Fire blossomed and danced elegantly in intricate patterns, sparks glittered gracefully in the twilight, and water twirled and shaped itself into intricate, mesmerizing forms. Chapter 244, Strolling Around. Young Master, look. Rena tugged gently on Orion's arm, drawing his attention towards a young mage conjuring tiny glowing butterflies of fire. Her eyes sparkled, mesmerized by the beautiful illusion. Fiora's own eyes widened in innocent wonder. It's beautiful, she murmured softly, stepping a bit closer to Orion unconsciously. Orion smiled gently, quietly enjoying the peaceful moment with the two of them. Magic truly does have its beautiful moments, he quietly remarked, captivated by their happiness. After enjoying the street performances, Orion guided the group to a grand theater known as Lumina Hall, renowned throughout the kingdom for its dramatic and immersive performances. Is it my turn to shine, master? He couldn't help but let out a chuckle hearing her words. It's just the name of the theater, they aren't inviting you to perform. They purchased seats in a private balcony overlooking the lavishly decorated stage. The theater soon dimmed, hushed anticipation filling the air. An intricately choreographed play unfolded, blending traditional acting with spellcasting. Actors wove spells seamlessly into their performances, bringing forth vivid illusions that captivated and astounded the audience. As the story reached a climactic moment, Fiora instinctively clutched Orion's arm, her eyes wide and absorbed. Orion glanced at her softly, warmth blooming in his chest as he gently reassured her with a quiet smile. Fiora's face flushed even brighter, but she did not let go, shyly savoring the closeness. On Orion's other side, Rena leaned in subtly, her voice soft and playfully teasing near his ear. Young master, if I didn't know better, I'd think Fiora planned this just to cling to you. Fiora quickly heard and stammered, releasing Orion's arm slightly but still remaining close. Rena, it's not like that. Orion chuckled softly, gently squeezing Fiora's hand reassuringly before turning back to enjoy the performance. Fiora's heart raced, warmth filling her at Orion's comforting gesture. Rena pouted before reaching forward and grabbing Orion's hand. He turned his head and looked at her. She just smiled playfully and turned her head back to enjoy the show. He simply shook his head before tightening his hold on her hand and continued to watch the show. After the theater, Orion led them leisurely down lively streets, stopping at various small stalls. Lucan, unable to resist his playful nature, amused the group by dramatically bargaining with merchants, drawing laughter from Orion, Rena, and even the shy Fiora. They paused briefly at a small boutique selling delicate accessories. Orion thoughtfully selected simple yet elegant necklaces for Rena and Fiora, causing Rena to tease playfully, young master truly knows how to win a girl's heart, while Fiora quietly, shyly whispered her heartfelt thanks and accepted the shiny necklace. Continuing their stroll, they stopped next at a famous sweets vendor. Fiora, initially hesitant, soon found herself delightfully enjoying a small cake, her eyes sparkling with happiness. Orion watched her softly, warmth blooming gently within him as he quietly admired how radiant Fiora looked in that moment. Despite her shy demeanor, Fiora possessed a figure that turned heads, her curves notably pronounced even compared to the charming Rena. Her dress accentuated her form beautifully, a sight Orion discreetly appreciated. Rena, noticing Orion's lingering gaze towards Fiora, leaned playfully toward him and whispered teasingly, "You know, young master, if you stare much longer, poor Fiora might faint." Orion chuckled, gently shaking his head as Fiora blushed furiously, her gaze dropping bashfully. "I can't help it," he confessed openly, voice soft yet sincere. "Both of you are incredibly beautiful." His earnest compliment caused even Rena's confidence to waver briefly, her playful demeanor softening into genuine warmth, while Fiora's heart fluttered furiously. The vibrant streets of the entertainment district hummed gently with life and laughter as Orion, Rena, and Fiora continued their leisurely stroll beneath the warm glow of colorful lanterns and magical lights. Lucan and Edgar followed quietly behind, exchanging gentle smiles as they watched the three enjoy their evening together. As they moved further down the bustling street, their attention was drawn by a boisterous voice echoing clearly through the air, belonging to a man holding brightly colored posters, energetically advertising an attraction. "Step right up and experience thrills unlike any other," the poster man proclaimed, waving his hands animatedly. "Come and challenge your courage at our magical horror house. Witness true terror through illusions woven by our talented mages. You won't find an experience like this anywhere else in the kingdom." Rena's eyes immediately lit up with excitement as she clasped her hands together, her playful gaze turning eagerly toward Orion. "Young master, let's go there. It sounds absolutely thrilling." Orion chuckled softly at her enthusiasm, raising an eyebrow curiously. His eyes turned gently toward Fiora, noticing the hesitant expression appearing on her delicate features. "What about you, Fiora? Do you want to try it?" Fiora nervously fiddled with the hem of her dress, her eyes wide with uncertainty as she prepared to politely refuse. Young master, I don't really." Before Fiora could complete her sentence, Rena leaned in closer, whispering softly into her ear with playful mischief, "Fiora, if we go there, you'll have a perfect excuse to cling tightly to the young master. Imagine how safe you'll feel being so close to him." Fiora's face instantly turned a fierce shade of scarlet, her eyes widening in shock and embarrassment. Her mind raced with possibilities, her heart thumping wildly as she shyly glanced toward Orion, imagining herself being comforted by his gentle, reassuring presence. After a brief, shy internal debate, Fiora softly murmured, her voice barely audible, Then, I suppose, it could be fun." Rena smiled triumphantly, giving Orion an innocent, charming grin as if she'd done nothing mischievous at all. Orion gently shook his head with amused resignation, turning to Edgar and Lucan behind them. "Are you two joining us as well?" Lucan immediately raised his hands dramatically, shaking his head in mock horror. "Young master, I'll stay outside, thank you very much. Horror houses and I simply don't mix." Edgar gave a calm, subtle smile, nodding politely. "I will accompany Lucan. You three should go enjoy yourselves." Orion chuckled lightly, understanding their intentions clearly. "Very well, wait for us here then." After quickly purchasing tickets, Orion guided Rena and Fiora toward the eerie entrance of the horror house, its facade illuminated by dim, flickering magical lights that cast unsettling shadows across its walls. The chilling decorations and distant, haunting sounds created an ominous yet thrilling atmosphere. The staff member at the entrance grinned mischievously, his voice deliberately sinister as he handed them each a small glowing charm. "These charms indicate your willingness to participate. Hold on to them tightly, they'll ensure your safe passage through our house of nightmares." Rena giggled playfully, clearly thrilled, while Fiora visibly gulped, gripping the charm tightly in her trembling fingers. Orion smiled reassuringly at her, gently taking her free hand into his, squeezing it softly to calm her nerves. "Don't worry," Orion reassured softly, his voice calm and comforting. "Remember, I'm right here with you." Fiora's tense shoulders relaxed slightly, her shy eyes rising hesitantly to meet Orion's gentle gaze. Her blush returned furiously, though a small, shy smile also appeared on her lips, trusting in Orion's promise of safety. Rena, seeing this, also extended her hand softly toward him while saying, "Young master, I'm also very scared. Hold my hand as well. You don't look very scared to me." He shook his head and took her hand gently. "Hee," she just softly giggled and looked ahead. Chapter 245, Haunted House. The trio stepped into the dimly lit corridor, the heavy wooden door creaking ominously shut behind them. The soft echoes of their footsteps filled the narrow hallway as Orion walked calmly forward, holding the hands of Rena and Fiora, whose grip was tightening in nervous anticipation. Rena glanced around curiously, her excitement bubbling through her nervousness. "It doesn't seem so scary yet," she commented lightly, attempting to keep the mood playful. Orion chuckled softly. "Don't speak too soon. If what the poster boy said was correct, then the mages here specialize in illusions, either through their own affinity or with runic formations. The real fright might begin at any moment." Fiora, who was walking closer to Orion's side than ever, trembled slightly. Her voice was soft, tinged with worry. "Why, young master, do you really think there will be ghosts?" Orion smiled warmly at her concern, his reassuring presence calming her fluttering heart. "Even if there are, they're nothing but illusions. Stay close, and you'll be fine." They reached the first gate, an imposing structure covered in intricate symbols glowing faintly with magic. As they stepped through, reality blurred subtly around them, the temperature dropping noticeably, their surroundings transforming instantaneously. Now they found themselves in a vast, eerie graveyard bathed in silvery moonlight. Tombstones stood crookedly scattered around, weathered statues of unknown figures looming ominously from every angle. A distant howl echoed, causing Fiora to shiver involuntarily, gripping Orion's arm even tighter. "Quite atmospheric, isn't it?" Rena mused, though her voice trembled slightly, betraying her brave facade. Before Orion could reply, shadows began flickering at the edge of their vision, vanishing whenever they tried to look directly. Soft whispers rose from the graves, murmuring incoherent words just loud enough to unsettle their nerves. Suddenly, a pale hand shot out from the ground, clawing at empty air inches from Fiora's feet. "Eek!" Fiora yelped, jumping almost entirely into Orion's arms, clutching him desperately. Orion, unfazed but amused, wrapped his arm around her. Rena laughed nervously, quickly stepping closer herself. "Maybe we should hurry along?" Nodding in agreement, Orion gently guided them forward through the winding graveyard path, dodging grasping hands and ghostly apparitions. Eventually, they reached the second gate, another mystical doorway shimmering softly. Passing through, the landscape shifted dramatically once again. They now stood at the edge of a dense, misty forest. Eerie, indistinct noises drifted through the foggy air, rustling leaves, faint footsteps, distant whispers. "Young master." Fiora whispered nervously, her voice barely audible, clutching Orion's arm tightly. "It's so dark." Orion gently squeezed her hand. "It's all right, Fiora. Just stay close." They walked cautiously through twisted trees, their branches clawing at the dim, clouded sky. Occasionally, shadowy figures darted just beyond sight, provoking startled gasps from both Rena and Fiora, though Orion's calm presence steadied them. "You'd think they'd at least clear some mist," Rena joked, attempting to ease her nerves. Orion chuckled softly at her attempt. After several tense moments, another glowing gate appeared through the fog. Quickly passing through, they stepped onto a precarious stone bridge arching above a boiling lava-filled cavern. The heat was intense, radiating upwards in waves. Fiora pressed herself tightly against Orion, her heart racing nervously. Even Rena, who was being playful, fell silent all of a sudden, looking at the sea of fire, staying remarkably close to Orion as they carefully crossed the narrow, crumbling bridge. "Don't look down," Orion advised calmly, keeping them steady as he looked to the side to see Rena being silent. He then remembered what had happened in her childhood and attributed her behavior to that. He tightened his grip on her hand and continued crossing the bridge. Reaching the other side, they found a massive volcanic cavern, with glowing rivers of molten rock snaking around dark, jagged stones. A stone plaque near a sealed gate read, "Find 3 hidden switches to proceed." Orion nodded, turning toward the two of them. "Let's split up carefully but stay within sight." Reluctantly agreeing, the trio began searching the cavern. Orion spotted the first switch quickly, cleverly concealed behind a boulder. Rena soon found another hidden behind a small outcropping. "Young master, I found mine." Fiora called timidly, carefully pressing the third hidden button embedded near a lava flow. With a rumble, the gate opened, and they quickly regrouped, stepping through into another unsettling environment. They continued traveling, passing through chilling catacombs, cursed villages, and shadowy temples, always discovering hidden mechanisms to open the path forward. Lumi's playful commentary broke the tension occasionally, whispering excitedly in Orion's mind, "Wow, master. They really spared no effort." Fiora is adorable when scared, and even Rena is trembling slightly now. Orion gently shook his head, amused by Lumi's observations, while ensuring Fiora remained comforted and calm, her shy nature causing her to cling closer with every fright. Rena also became quieter, her playful confidence gradually giving way to genuine nervousness as the scares intensified. Eventually, they reached a wide cavern with 3 separate, ominous cave entrances. Another plaque read, "To proceed, 3 levers must be pulled simultaneously. Courage alone will reveal the exit." Rena nervously swallowed, laughing quietly. "I suppose this is our final test?" Fiora clutched Orion's sleeve tightly, clearly anxious. "Young master, must we really separate?" Orion smiled reassuringly. "It'll be brief, Fiora. Remember, these are all just illusions." Reluctantly nodding, Fiora entered her cave slowly, glancing back at Orion anxiously. Rena followed suit into her own tunnel, taking a calming breath. Inside his cave, Orion easily found his lever, pulling it without hesitation. A hidden door immediately opened ahead. He stepped through, emerging into a quiet, ordinary chamber. Moments later, another door opened, revealing a relieved-looking Rena. "You made it through easily, young master," she sighed in relief, smiling warmly. Orion nodded calmly, scanning the room. "Where's Fiora?" Rena looked around, suddenly concerned. "She isn't here?" Orion's brows furrowed slightly, worry flickering briefly through his calm demeanor. "Let's check the tunnels again. Perhaps she's just finding it." They quickly backtracked, peering carefully into Fiora's cave entrance. The lever inside was already pulled, and the exit door stood open. But Fiora herself was nowhere to be found. "Fiora?" Orion called softly, stepping cautiously into the dim cavern. No response came. Rena's expression grew more anxious, following Orion closely. "Young master, where could she have gone? Do you think something frightened her too much?" Orion shook his head gently, his expression turning serious. "She was scared, but I doubt she'd wander far alone." Quickly returning to the ordinary room they'd initially found, Orion carefully examined every corner, calling softly, "Fiora? Are you here?" Silence was their only answer. Rena placed a comforting hand on Orion's arm, sensing his growing concern. "Perhaps the mages have something special planned? Maybe this is another test of courage?" Orion sighed softly, unconvinced. "Possibly, but I doubt they'd separate someone without warning." "Master, I don't sense any real danger, but Fiora's mana signature is genuinely not nearby." Lumi's voice was unusually serious. "Then they have a more complex setup than expected," Orion replied inwardly, his concern deepening. "Let's retrace our steps," Orion decided quickly. If she became separated, she might have returned toward the entrance. They quickly retraced their path, carefully checking every corridor, cavern, and gate. Yet despite their thorough search, Fiora remained nowhere in sight. Orion's heart tightened, feeling a genuine pang of worry. "We should inform Edgar and Lucan immediately." Rena nodded quietly, her playful demeanor replaced by earnest concern. "I hope Fiora is all right." Orion took a deep breath to calm his heart and softly said, "She'll be fine. We'll find her no matter what."